Hello, hello. Welcome to Tammy's Table. I'm so glad you're joining us in our virtual kitchen today. I am Tammy, and I am just ecstatic that you chose to take some time out. People asked me, I was over the weekend at a party. They're like, "What's Tammy's Table? What's the story?" And we were at a party and we were all jammed into the kitchen talking about kids, relationships, life, learning, sharing. That's all that happens here on Tammy's Table. So, um, today is always the first Monday of the month. We always have one of my favorite people, Ed Blunt, join us. Ed is one of the best speakers I've ever heard, mostly because his goal is to leave you off better than when he found you, and he always delivers. Ed is also an entrepreneur. We could talk about that too, but Ed, great seeing you. Welcome. Happy June.
Thank you. Always great to see you, Miss Tammy.
So I want to like just do a little level set. So Brian, can you pop up that graphic if you have it? All right. That's a little it's there we go. It's an eye chart. I don't even know if we should do it. But anyway, this is basically the resilience process that I developed out of my own experience of growing through challenges, not just going through them. So the last time Ed was here, we did a really great conversation around the first step, um, which is like resetting your thinking about whatever it is you're going through. And today we're going to talk about the second step, which is reality, like real reality. What you perceive and what is actually happening are most undoubtedly two different things. So we're going to talk about some tools and strategies today to help you make sure you're being realistic. So, Ed, let's talk about, I mean, we both know people that are either really, really dramatic about whatever's going on, blowing it all out of proportion, or people that I think sometimes are a little too like, whatever happens, happens. Like there has to be sort of a middle ground in those two, thought processes. So, what has your experience been about people that completely freak out at the first sign of, trouble?
Well, to that point, I think that that initial reaction is something that some people have an awareness of and some people don't. It's like when you're deciding on whether or not to get on the roller coaster for the very first time, and emotionally you have a lot of anxiety, you have unreasonable fears, your imagination starts to run wild. And for some people that takes over and they're like, yeah, no, I'm not getting on, I'm not doing it. And then other people override that because they understand that initial response is strictly an emotional one, and it doesn't have as much to do with what the actual reality of the experience is going to be. So they override that and they get on the roller coaster, have a great time. So I think it's a choice that people have. And if you're conditioned with a biological response to heightened drama because it stimulates you, it literally physically stimulates you, then you are conditioned for that drama. That's why we call them drama kings and drama queens, because there's literally a physiological happening in their body, and they get off on that whole drama scenario, so they play it up. So I think that having that awareness is where it starts, and you
Mhm.
immediately can tell if somebody has that awareness or not.
Okay, let's go back to the roller coaster because I'm taking a little bit of issue with something you said.
Yes.
I go to the roller coaster,
Yes.
I look at the whole scenario. I'm talking about me for real in real life. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I'm not getting
Uh-huh.
on that roller coaster. Not because I'm a drama queen, but because I am reasonable. I would rather stay and watch the bags and let somebody else go do that nonsense. And then a month later, my daughter finally decided, she convinced me to get on the roller coaster, and I did. And it was the worst experience I ever had.
but but it was real.
It was, yes, it was really, I lost my voice for 3 days. Um, so I wanted, let's drill down on two things you said. One is if you are biologically programmed to have that conditioned response.
Sure.
Um, Is there a way out of that, or are you stuck with that?
No, I don't believe that you're stuck with it. I think people are we all have behavioral patterns that we're subject to. It's been said that over 90% of our behaviors are patterns that we've developed over time.
Mhm.
So if someone, it's the familiarity process where someone will say, well, why does he continuously find themselves in these toxic relationships with toxic women? Why is she always dating men who have no respect for her and mistreat her? Well, because it's comforting to go with what is familiar. And that gives us a reassurance, even when it's toxic, even when it's negative. So the person who has a propensity for high drama in their life because of that biological response, it's like a dopamine hit. They
Mhm.
can choose to have the recognition that this is not healthy. And if I'm going to seek higher ground, I'm going to make that decision, well, then I have to have the recognition first. I can't change what I don't acknowledge. And that's
Mhm.
going to, who am I surrounding myself with? What kind of awareness do I have? And am I willing to do the work to reprogram that within myself? It's kind of like getting off of alcohol, getting off of cigarettes. These are
Mhm.
things that have no useful purpose in terms of our health and well being, but we do them because they're comforting. Same thing with the drama king and the drama queen.
Um, okay, so how do you build actually let me go back to something else. You
Yeah.
mentioned the people that you surround yourself with.
Hmm.
So when I had the twins, I realized like that was high drama. Like I was getting
Yeah.
divorced, I was in the
It's a
hospital,
lot.
then I had the twin, like that was a lot. Um,
Yeah.
and I was aware that it was a lot. I was like not a drama queen about most of it. But you know what I realized? The people I was talking to every day from the hospital, and they're like, okay, what's going on? They weren't asking like, how are you doing? They were
Hmm.
asking what's going on today, like it was a soap opera.
Mm.
And I realized I was like, I am feeding their drama. Like they're like, is the baby gonna live? What's the surgery gonna happen? Like they were I came to recognize they weren't really asking about how am I doing and how are the babies doing. They
Mm.
were like, yeah, like let me feed me that soap opera. It's day 5 and let me know what's going on. So I ended up like I just stopped reporting in.
Hmm.
I just went
Hmm.
to email. What's your the people that that's my story of the people I surround myself with. Like, what's your response to that? To people like that?
Well, how did you catch it?
Um, that's a really good question. I think honestly, I was just sitting like quietly and realizing like I had like nobody to talk to because
Yes.
the people that I would normally talk to were the ones that were doing like report in.
Hmm.
So I just sort of, in the space of all that was going on, I recognized that it was really not healthy for me to stay stuck in the drama to report to them at the end of the day what happened. I just
Yes.
it didn't make me feel good, basically.
Well, you're talking about revelation, and it's been said you can't see your reflection but for still water. So you were in stillness and you
Hmm.
caught that. Well, see, a lot of people in that same situation would simply feed into it because they don't want to feel alone. It's comforting to have somebody to talk to, even if you're talking about things
And
that don't really, help you, right? So you
right.
you could have not, you could have totally missed it for the need of company and reassurance and getting attention for all the things you're going through and telling that story. And so it could have gone one of
Oh,
two ways. So there was something in you that had that recognition. Now that's the question. I don't know where that comes from. Why were you possessed with the self-awareness to want to level up in the midst of all that drama and chaos and challenging times for you? I don't know why you had that. Why do you have it and some people don't?
I think
I'm
I can.
I'm
I mean,
I'm
there,
fascinated with that question.
there's one piece. I don't know if this helps or doesn't help, but I
Yeah.
was very committed to not. I was committed to seeing things as they are, which brings us back. to the topic. So
Yeah.
I didn't go into the hospital every day with like doom and gloom and this is going to be horrible and blah, 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 blah. I was like, fresh day, fresh start. I don't know what's waiting behind those doors. Um, but I realized every time I took those calls at the end of the day, it was putting me right back into the drama that I had just left. Like it was an
Yes.
effort to prepare myself for what's next. Does that make sense?
Hmm. It does. It does. And back to that fundamental question about reality. I heard it put two different ways. One, Mr. Les Brown would say, people don't see the world as it is; they see the world as they are. And then
Mm,
Deion Sanders, he was like, look, man, everybody lives in their own reality. And the longer I have the opportunity to be on this planet, the more I see that that is so true. And when I look at Steve Jobs coined the phrase reality distortion field, and he talks about the fact that if he if he didn't live by a reality distortion field, we wouldn't have the iPhone, we wouldn't have the Mac, we wouldn't
mm,
have iPads, because he had to challenge that conventional thinking of, hey, let's just deal with reality. Hey, I need you to create a mouse that can be, that can move. Like it's not plugged in; it's got to be remote. Well, Mr. Jobs, that technology doesn't exist. We can't create that. Oh, okay, you're fired. I'm going to find somebody who believes in the possibility. That was literally his process. He was so committed to the reality distortion field that he was not going to relent until that became a reality. So I think there's a lot of power in that. And very much like the Force from Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, it
okay,
can be
you named them
used for
all.
good, it can be used for evil.
So talk about by the way, good drop there on Star Wars. Nice. Uh reality distortion field. What
Yeah.
does that
It
mean?
means that when someone says to Tammy, you need to be realistic about what's happening. Your children have a very low percentage chance of survival. You need to prepare yourself. You need to understand that you're not supposed to be focusing on anything other than your family situation. You're going through a very difficult period with your divorce and your premature twins, and you have two other kids. You can't be thinking about business and being an entrepreneur, and like you don't have, like, that's not being realistic. You need to focus just on being an emotional support for your kids, and maybe we can figure out something, get you some money from the state or whatever. Like, that's, for a lot of people, that's reality.
Sounds
your
familiar.
your reality distortion field was, not only am I going to raise four healthy children, even though the medical establishment is telling me that my two youngest kids are not going to be okay. Not only am I going to raise four healthy children, but I'm also going to build a successful business in the midst of all that, while navigating extreme opposition uh, uh, from the opposing side in a very messy, long, drawn out divorce. I'm going to navigate all of that and create a successful path for myself. Like that sounds really insane, me saying it out loud, but that's what you were actually living. You were actually doing that. So that is a reality distortion field, because you're not going to succumb to what would appear to most people's eyes. Hey, you really need to dial it back now. This is not a time for you to be aggressive in pursuing business while also trying to be a single mother of four kids. You need to calm down. Well, that's what most people would say. And you were like, no, I'm going to do the exact opposite, actually.
Got it. That makes sense. Thanks for putting all that out there.
Mm-hmm.
But and by the way, that all sounds familiar. And when we come back, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the response to that because I know a lot of people, hear that.
Yeah.
And you train entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have it the hardest.
Yeah.
People don't believe in them and they have to put blinders on or something. So when
100%.
we come back, let's talk about like how you get to the other side of that and choose the right people.
Cool.
Okay. Back in a minute.
We're all tired of the healthcare industry and insurance companies making record profits from hardworking Americans like us. But what are we going to do about it? It's time we take action. Introducing ConnectMD, an invitation-only membership-based platform that was created to disrupt healthcare. Think Netflix, except with premium healthcare services for a monthly subscription fee, without the price increases, of course. Our services costs less than a pack of gum per day, compared to the average $500 per month for traditional health coverage. And the best part, you can add up to 7 additional members for free, regardless of their age. Because we aren't insurance, there are no contracts, claims, or deductibles, just pure savings. With ConnectMD, healthcare is at your fingertips. When you become a member, you'll have unlimited virtual urgent care consultations and prescription treatments at no extra cost. You can also speak with a therapist for peace of mind, and there are no additional costs for that either. Our services are available in Spanish as well, with Spanish-speaking providers available. In addition, you'll also get annual labs and virtual dermatology consultations at no cost. Instead of waiting 3 weeks to see a physician for primary care needs, such as prescription refills, referrals to specialists, and weight loss consultations, you can get next-day virtual appointments for only $25 compared to the average cost of $170. Best of all, you can access acute prescription treatments at no cost and receive highly discounted medications for chronic illnesses. Our services are available nationwide, 24/7, ensuring you and your additional members can get medical attention anytime, anywhere in the U.S. This is a game changer, and we want you to join us. We've made it easy for you to get started. Simply pay a one-time enrollment fee of $30 plus your first month's fee. If you're like others and you'd like to access all we discussed, choose our top-selling Platinum plan for only $90 per month. If you're on a tight budget, choose one of our cost-effective options, with Gold starting at $60 monthly and only $30 monthly for Silver, with the option to upgrade, downgrade, and cancel at any time. Remember, you can add up to 7 additional members to whichever plan you choose. ConnectMD leaves no one behind. Join the revolution today. Enrolling with us is a quick and easy process that takes less than 2 minutes. To get started as a member, select Membership and scroll to select Become a Member Now. Next, you'll decide which plan to enroll in and select to continue on the enrollment page. As you enroll, you will be asked, "Who is your sponsor?" Search for your referring member or agent using their information, or ask them for their member number. Once you've located them, select to continue and proceed with enrolling. Next, select to create your member-only plan. Then type 1 in the quantity box of the plan you desire and continue to review and complete. At last, choose your card type, enter your payment info, agree to our terms, and complete your enrollment.
Hey, welcome back. I am Tammy Gaines, and you are sitting at Tammy's table, and we are breaking bread with Ed Blunt today. Ed, welcome back.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So listen, when we last left our hero, we were talking about like changing the reality of what's happening and how you can do that. So we can keep using my life as a classroom. I'm totally fine with that. But maybe more realistic, because that was extreme, like everything I was going through.
Yes.
For people that are going through, I'm not going to say regular, but like they're getting divorced, or they've just lost their job, or they're having financial difficulty. Um, those kitchen table issues. Everybody loves using that word. But
Mm,
for a regular person that's going through something seemingly catastrophic in their life,
sure.
uh, where do you even start once you get past the initial shock of whatever is happening. I'm going to give people
Well,
grace that there was a moment of total, like, what's going on?
I think people have to understand that it's people get in trouble when they start to identify with what's happening. Meaning, if I'm filing for bankruptcy, they identify with themselves as someone who's bankrupt. Well, no, I mean you're going through that process. You're getting divorced. It doesn't define your whole being. It's something that you're going through. Whereas people create an anchor and they say, I'm divorced, I'm a failure at relationships, I'll never get married again, I'll never trust again, I'm not worthy of real love, I'm not worthy of a good partner. They will make it pervasive throughout their entire being, and then it becomes a permanent part of their identity, which makes it virtually impossible for them to begin anew. So I think just having perspective. I make mistakes, mistakes don't make me. So, what's the learning? What's the lesson? Where's the blessing? And if you can identify where those things are, then you can continue to move forward. That's number one. Number two,
By
recognize
the way,
that,
before number two, you say that like it's so easy to do. When
well,
you're
it's
when
not,
you're in it, I think it's hard.
I didn't use the word easy, but it's a very simple process. And the second part is recognizing that people are going through, everybody's going through it in some way, shape, or form. They're just better at hiding it than you might be. So when you recognize that everybody's got stuff that they're dealing with and that it's not unique to you, then you give yourself an opportunity to get over yourself, get over it, and keep moving forward. Now, it's not easy, but it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary in order for you to come out on the other side of it, because it beats the alternative, which is marinating in your misery until God knows when. So those are your choices, though. Like that's the beauty of it, is that you have a choice.
I think the choice, like it, and by the way, that was very eloquent and very well put. Um, I was talking to somebody last week who was moaning and groaning about, what they were going through. And I said, well, you have a choice. It's a pretty simple choice. You could like live in this space that you're in right now, which is miserable. Or you can just decide that you're going to be different. You're going to make different choices.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, Ed. I think the odds are very low that she's going to decide to make a choice like in the next couple of weeks. I think
Mhm.
the choice is hard.
Mhm.
And it's also easy to fall back, right? So I'm going to choose to make different decisions.
Yes.
But my comfort zone is so comfortable.
Yeah. Comfort zone is killer. Killer. It's like carbon monoxide. It just slowly chokes the life out of your aspirations and greater versions of yourself. So I think because of the times that we are living in, there's a lot of coddling, and because of social media, a lot of people who are wimps and whiners and moaners and complainers, they have a platform, and so they get space for their grievances as much as anyone else, and that becomes problematic because people are missing out on the opportunity to grow from their challenges and to
Mhm.
recognize nobody cares. Like, no one cares. Like, you're having a hard time, you got divorced, somebody left you, you had a heartbreak, you financial ruin, you're hitting the reset button. No one really cares about that. People care about the overcomers. They want to hear the stories of people that have weathered the storm, because everybody's got a storm. They maybe, Mr. Brown always says, either you just left a problem, you're in a problem, or you're on your way to a problem. That's just life. So you and I and other like-minded people have this opportunity to give people an example, to give people a pathway to navigating through their current reality to their greater reality. And to that point, learning how to live in your future, to me, is one of the most important skills to develop and cultivate. Because if your vision isn't greater than your current circumstances, then you are going to fall back in the comfort zone and you're going to just live your life on repeat like Groundhog's Day. You're just
Mm-hmm.
going to be marinating in misery over and over again. And you keep saying to yourself, I want more, I deserve better. But because you're living in your comfort zone and you keep focusing on your past, you keep focusing on the mistakes, you're literally focusing on your past. But because that's where your focus is, that becomes your future. And it's on loop, it's on repeat. Whereas if you learn how to focus on a more compelling future, because you've cultivated a vision that's greater than your current circumstance, because your circumstances are now your conclusion. Well, now you're living in your future. And now you have a chance to move forward. Now you can weather the storm because you know where you're going now. You have a direction versus being stuck on that loop, that repeat.
That's so interesting. I had something to ask you, but it might be controversial. So let me start with this. Um,
Okay.
yeah. What if you perceive your situation to be so untenable
Yeah.
and you can't see your way out? Like you can't find the light in the tunnel.
Yes.
That whole conversation about like, hey, you should be living towards your future and you should
Yeah.
be, have a vision of who you are. People are like, I can't even see past like this next hour.
That's right.
Um, so I don't think everybody has future vision, and I don't think we have enough outlets for people to cultivate that. Um, Now this is going to lead me into the controversial part. Just
Okay.
sit with that for 1 second.
Hmm.
There's so much conversation around mental health. I
Hmm.
know mental health is real.
Yeah.
Um, but what you said before about whiners, like we're a coddling society.
Hmm.
Um, we don't let people fall because that's where we learn. Like letting people trip up is where they learn how not to do that again.
Yeah.
So I watched this great movie with Jonah Hill last night on Netflix where they're recovering alcoholics.
Okay.
They go around the circle. The guy was like, I can't see a future. Like I'm not
Mm.
excited about anything. So this mental health conversation, do you think we should be doing more? We have all these great programs, but do you think we should be programming more towards building these types of skills like this reality, like this visioning, the resilience? Like, does
Yes.
that play a role in all of that? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that giving someone an opportunity to do something for someone else is a good starting point. Someone who's like, listen, we all have seen the parent, anybody that's a parent, your worst nightmare is anything happening to your children. Well, how many times have we seen the parent who loses a child and that becomes a point of activism? It becomes a point of advocacy. It becomes a point of transformation where they make it about helping other grieving parents and then teaching and educating parents that so that they don't end up in the same situation. They
Right.
literally take the focus off of their devastation and their grief, which is never going to leave them, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And they activate it to add value and to be of service to the greater community. That's an example of somebody living in your future. Somebody may say, well, shoot, Ed, like I just put down the bottle yesterday. This is my first. I've been sober for 12 hours, bro. Like what? Okay, well, good. Let's focus on being sober for 13. That's living in your future. Let's focus on being sober for a full 24. That's living in your future. It doesn't have to be 5 years out. It doesn't have to be 2 years out. It could be 2 days out. But the point is that you're keeping your eyes forward, because when you walk forward. You don't walk backwards. you look forward, you don't look backwards. And the reason that your eyes, I'm stealing this from my boy. If you look at the word eyes and you take off the E, it's yes. So everything that you're looking towards is affirmed. So if you're looking toward another hour of sobriety, another hour of just surviving this unimaginable grief that I'm experiencing, and perhaps I can help someone else that's going through it, that's where it starts. So we have examples. We have too many examples and too much access. As much as the people that just want attention,
Mhm.
and this is such a clue on social media. It's one of my pet peeves when people they take pictures of themselves in the hospital. Oh, like I want to see your cut on
You're
your leg,
or I
like
don't want to see
really?
you in your hospital gown.
I don't want to see that. Like nobody cares.
Yeah.
So they want attention. However, we can take up just as much bandwidth with people who are proactively doing something with their challenging situation. And in doing that, you're moving towards something that's much brighter for your own future.
Yeah. Oh, and that's so well said and inspiring. Um, yeah, so obviously I want to thank you for coming, but I think this was a great topic, high value. And it does come down to a choice. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Real quick, we just saw that was your commercial. Do you want to
Yes.
tell us what you're working on? Tell us about that.
Listen, Connect MD, ladies and gentlemen, with a K. Connect MD has been transformational for us and for those that we've been helping. So there's literally about 30 million people that have no form of health care at all. And there's another 100 million that have medical debt. And we understand that people are overpaying, $400 to $500 a month. We're giving them an option where they can get virtual care for $90 a month. They can add on an additional 7 members. It doesn't have to be family members, by the way. It could be friends, it could be neighbors, it could be whoever, because we're putting people over profit in order to make it manageable for the consumer to get some level of access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unlimited urgent care visits. So that's what we're doing, Tami. I'm really excited about it. A young lady was able to save $2,300 on her prescription medication. We got it down to zero with our membership. So she went from paying $2,300 every 6 months to now paying zero because she got the membership. So I love stories like that. I love helping people with those costs and eliminating them if we can, if not bringing them down. So Connect MD, ladies and gentlemen, with a K. You can find me all over social media. I can be your point of contact for that, but I'm happy to help in that capacity.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're going to talk more about that, but I know you'll be wildly successful because that is all you know how to be.
Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. So thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for
Um,
having me.
we will see you all back here in the next episode of Tami's Table every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for listening.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.